front lines against the deep state cabal, the Illuminonkeys, and all of those that want to suppress all of humanity for their own benefit. I don't know why they want to do it. Power and control. A lot of things going on. And I was doing a review actually of the Anunnaki bloodline stories, right, and how it all was set up. And one guy on a Leak Project, I actually went back and listened to it again because he has such an way of laying out the story of all the characters and who played who and who's the God of the Bible and which one was the one to carry things forward. And he says, and the power system still exists. And this is the interesting thing was that he said this is the time when there's actually supposed to be a change, right? That they have a cyclical system where one of the power structures goes down and the other one comes up, and that's part of what this time is about. And he even mentions Marduk. But according to him, the Marduk's still in play. So I'm thinking probably a good idea to contact this guy and say, well, Marduk has actually left the building, so to speak.
Marduk has left the building. It's funny, at the tables, they think that, or the gatekeeper, she thinks that Kim replaced the head of the tables, and through trickery, right? And now she is, but he's getting ready to take back his seat, right? And I'm like, yeah, because things were so good before, right? But whatever. So there's a lot of delusions out there. For the record, the former comptroller, the sole sovereign on the planet, the great dictator, he's dead. He's dead. So
and not coming back.
And not coming back, no.
Yeah, and well, then other interesting thing that the guy was speaking towards is how they actually were able to create these avatar bodies, just like the movie Avatar, right? That they actually put their consciousness into these bodies, and that's why they, were, able to kind of like be in multiple places at the same time. They. One body would go to sleep and the other body would kind of wake up, kind of thing, so they'd be controlling these avatar bodies through their consciousness, and they were able to do that. Even gets into how the reason why Inky would have created our chakra system. Right, and how we have this kind of a evolutionary process of ascension built into us, to the point where we literally are able to stand up and be, ascended, at a level. So even with the suppressing of our ages and a lot of the other suppressions that are happened within us, that our senses have been muted, our age has been muted, our size has been muted. All of these things were tweaked downwards, right? But also seems to be able to be unlocked and moved beyond.
Yeah, I've it's interesting. There's a woman named Jalila Starr who I spoke to her a couple of years ago, and right as I was really making some noise about the RV and stuff, right? And she was still thinking the RV was going to happen, but she was a galactic historian, and she has a book out about it actually, and she talks about how to unlock your DNA, and and I'm sure I've explained it exactly the way I read it, and every time I do, she's like, "Well, you're almost there," but okay, well, I think I'm there. But anyways, she basically said, if I could summarize it, she talks about how everything we're going through is an experience that we chose for ourselves to learn a lesson. So the question that we should always ask ourselves is, what is the lesson that I wanted to learn from this experience? And So whatever we're going through, once we learn the lesson, we can move past it. But until we learn the lesson, we can't, right? So, and she talks about how that really will unlock your DNA and allow you to, be more in tune and more intuitive, and unlock these other these other senses, right? These extra senses, so to speak. Not extra, but our full gamut of experiences that we have available to us. So I don't know. There's something to that, I think.
Yes. No,
I practice that all the time. I mean, whenever we go through these things. But I don't know if that's the comment. I think a lot of us just get very mad, so we don't do that much. But definitely value, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yes.
So pretty exciting stuff going on. I have to say, with there's all this stuff going on. I don't even know what the trial is, but it's one guy. I love him. He's one of the congressmen, and he keeps blowing up these guys. Representative Matt Gaetz, right? So he blows up. First he blows up and goes off. When he's interviewing what's his name there. Oh, it's the impeachment. The investigation into impeachment. They basically created a new type of trial to try to impeach Trump, right? So after 5 or 6 investigations that have cleared Trump, they think that Nadler, in his sleuth investigative style, right? he's the Columbo of Congress. He's gonna get to the bottom of it, right? So we got all these people, that keep coming in. So the guy we talked about the other day, he used to be Trump's campaign manager. He brings him out and he's like, and he just nails it, right? He's like, so have you ever been accused of this? Have you ever done any of these things? Have you ever once said this? He's like, well, Comey has. He's like, he blows him off, right? And then he goes, and then he gives Al Sharpton in the chair, right, today. And Al Sharpton's the biggest fraud, right? He's always, he uses racism as his tool to show up like the hero. And he's like, have you ever referred to African Americans that disagree with you as cocktail sip Negroes? Pointing out.
Oh yeah. So what did he say?
I don't, here we can show it. Yeah, I'll share my screen quick. We'll put it up there. Where is it? Oh wait, no, the volume doesn't work. I'm on my phone. I'll send it to you then. I forgot.
Okay.
But it's pretty. But I'm just like, I love this guy. Like him and Jim Jordan are my favorite. Matt Gaetz and Jim Jordan are awesome.
Oh yeah, they're. I mean, this whole thing with Nadler and that thing, they really were saying, why are you breaking all the rules of the House to do this? It's ridiculous. It's really just making it a farce. Everything they're doing is a farce. Remember, it's like I wonder what.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Do you think it's possible that, because it's such a farce, right? I mean, it is such an absolute circus right now, right? It's like, is there anybody who has a reasonable intelligence, who's looking at all the facts, or even half the facts from both sides, who's looking at this going, yeah, they're on the right track? Because you don't even have to know all the details. Like, I don't know all the details, but I know enough to know that, you have this woman, Blasey Ford, who came out. She makes all these accusations. The Democrats, they lift her up like she's the hero, right? She's such a courageous. She got by Time Magazine, someone's got most courageous woman, award, and then just to come to find out it was a lie, right?
Right.
So it doesn't take courage to come out and tell a lie to try and discredit someone, so that you can get up in front of everyone and try to say that there was a time in your life that you got something horrible happen to you, right? It's not courageous, right? It's cowardly. It's because you're being controlled by people, outside of yourself. Anytime that you don't make your own decisions, now you might make your own decisions and be in agreement with someone, but when you don't even think for yourself anymore, you just do what you're told, you're not a leader anymore, or ever, right? You're just playing a part and being manipulated by this whole process. So Kamala Harris comes out and exalts her, saying, we really need to investigate Kavanaugh. Why? We've already established that your key witness is a fraud. And she doesn't, at this point, she said outright that she misidentified him. And the other accuser doesn't even remember it happening. She only came out because she was pressured to. And then Blasey Ford's team pressured her to come out and say that she remembered it, and she wouldn't. So it's like, these are your key witnesses? I mean, these are things that crash. If we were just looking at real facts, we had a justice system that actually served justice, right? If you had a grand jury called on the exact same thing, which by the way, the more I've been, getting into this grand jury thing, I realize I'm like, the reason why we're in this situation is really because we let it happen. Because this was always supposed to be the people governing. And the government is an absolute train wreck right now. You got elected officials that are just supposed to run things. They work for us.
Yeah.
So it's but the reason why I was asking is, do you think that that's planned? Possibly, like this is part of their deal, that they're going to humiliate themselves to have so it looks like they're still supporting their constituents, but they're leaving office.
It's really, I've been going back and forth a lot, actually thinking now. Now, are they actually just been pushed into such a corner by Trump and this miraculous plan to maneuver them into a position of they really have nothing to do but keep doing what they're doing and go out into vanish, right? Just because they're literally making themselves irrelevant on every front, right? The news along with them, just as much. Or is there some, big plan, that they're now, putting themselves in a position to die so that the Socialist Democrat Party can rise from the ashes?
How though? How would it possibly rise? I mean, at the end of the day, everything they say, it wouldn't surprise me, right, if if you saw President Trump down by the wall, right, and the way he was talking to those guys, right? I mean, the guy is just naturally kind, right? He wants to protect Americans. He wants to protect America, right? He's, when you see that attitude and that swagger, it's because he's going up against monsters, and you need a little swagger to do that, And I'm just like, but it wouldn't surprise me if Nancy Pelosi came out and said, and then did you see President Trump throwing a temper tantrum down by the wall? Because that's what they keep doing. And I experienced that once in the chat room where they, I would type something and they would delete it and then go, Tank, you better calm down. I'm like, what? So that's my only experience with it. So I can't imagine what it feels like to be President Trump. Because everything he does,
Well, he's exuding such toxic masculinity. It's like nuclear charged toxic masculinity. It's actually radioactive toxic masculinity. And they can't deal with it, right? Because it's genuine, right? It's not a show. It's not something he has to construct. It's just who he is. And they can't, and that truth behind that, in everything that he's doing, and the more that they show throw these lies out there, and that it's so not him, the more it actually empowers him.
I agree. I think that even though now, I mean, I guess an accurate poll finally came out and said he was at 51%, right? And I don't know if you saw the Joe Biden interview, right? Where he was, I mean, he was like reading a passage out of The Outsiders, right? He's like, well, I remember this one time I got in a fight with Pony Boy and Corn Pop.
Yeah.
The most ridiculous, mamblings of a crazy old man
Corn
I've ever heard.
Corn Pop was a real guy, though, just so you know.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the, it sounds like a made up name, right? But it really was someone. The iPod, Sir Patrick Mack had basically, dug in and found that was a real character from back that time, and gave Biden his street street cred, right? Oh yeah, you stood down, a gangster coming up to your window, and that's fine. You deserve your cred for doing that, right? But Biden just keeps putting his foot in his mouth with everything that he does. Now the grand plan seems to be let Biden self-destruct, right? Keep everyone to the end, and then totally fold in the end, and the only one left behind is Hillary to run against Trump.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also interesting, right now that the McCabe's lawyers, they basically petitioned the Department of Justice to drop the investigation altogether because they said it's a waste of federal resources. Now, this is the same group that just spent $40 million into a witch hunt on President Trump, right?
Right.
And followed him around. And as investigations continue to clear, does anyone really take any lawyer seriously who has the audacity to say that you guys, this would be a waste of resources? Yes, investigating someone that they have rock solid evidence on to show that he committed several crimes, right? And they've held back because they're obviously going for the kill, right?
Right.
They have the nerve to say that's a waste of resources, but investigating a sitting president and literally just trying to bog him down with wasted time, that's not a waste of resources? I mean, and the lie, outright,
well,
that was one of the best things that could have happened in the Republican Party.
Yeah,
because what they did was they inspired the whole, walk away movement.
Well, they actually were participating in an insurrection, for sedition and insurrection. They were the ones part of the deal, right? And those people are being found out. How many people already left office, left their positions, or have been fired already? The swamp is being drained. It just you just don't notice it because everyone's focused on the top people to get when they're gone. Then they'll notice, right? That hey, look how many other people have already left office. But it's way underway, and these people are at the top now. Well, let's just say at the Obama level, right? It's that peg just below them that's now the heads of these departments that are on the chopping block. And when they're gone, then it's Obama, then it's Hillary, then it's Bill, then it's George. All of them are going to find out. Why President Trump won't sign the ban on lynching. Yeah.
Well, because that's in the Constitution, not the way that lynching has become a racist thing they try to say, right?
Right.
Which yes, it is. There is a bunch of racists who did horrible things, during the civil rights movement. Before that, right? But that is true, and I would never make light of that. But it's in the Constitution that if you are a traitor, right? If you are guilty of treason.
Right.
That you should be exactly lynched. You should be hung up in the middle of the street and left there.
Yeah.
So that everybody can see what happens to traitors.
Right.
And you actually, you'll see things like this happen with the cartels in Mexico, right? Where, they'll brutally just take somebody apart. And then
So is there some crime going on anywhere with you right now? I'm just wondering.
Oh, must be an emergency. Senior care. Lots of old people get sick on the call. It's weird. Sorry. Hello?
No, I'm just wait. I was still hearing it. So they want to interrupt our call. A commercial break.
Yeah.
I need a commercial. I need a commercial. I need a sponsor.
No.
We need to. Cancer be gone. Get it here.
Yeah, no doubt.
We should talk about that. Anything going on with our friend John?
Yes, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of legal and lawful things that we're discussing right now. That is something, though, because he has been targeted before, If anybody wants information, they can contact me directly. Please expect that if you contact me directly and I don't know you, that there'll be a lot of scrutiny with that, right? Because we fully expect that they're going to try to get us to say something wrong. So we are working with some lawyers to make sure that we don't do that, and we don't give them that satisfaction. So, we're working on that now.
You can use the name that I put there. Cancer Begun. I have no copyright or anything. Just for
I think that is horrible branding, but
yeah, well, it's not the best, but the website might be available.
When Dr. William Courtney, right, who was like the foremost thought leader, like with cannabis juicing, like 6 years ago, I was working with him and his sister, right, and they wanted to bring this product to market, and they were interviewing like Abbott and Johnson & Johnson, and I had them convinced not to do it. I said, look, we'll just bring it out as a supplement, just as a food, right, because it's the most nutrient-dense food on the planet, allegedly, right. And it was curing cancer and all types of amazing things. It tasted horribly, so you can just mix it with juice that doesn't taste horrible. And then you got to rebrand. You got to rebrand cannabis, right? You got to rebrand marijuana, because people always look at medical marijuana as like stoners who are pretending to have a stigma, right, so they can get high. so which is not, more to it than that. But so we worked it out that we were going to rebrand, medical marijuana is like we were coming up with all types of catchy names.
Well, that was I had 7 years of my life devoted towards that healing and developing different ones that would work for different ailments, and really it's amazing how just one certain strain you could target something in particular. And it's a wide range of things. It's almost like you could just dial in what you were looking for. I actually talked with some of the old-time farmers, up in the mountains that would grow, and they would literally focus while they were growing on thinking about what they needed to cure, right?
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah. And the plant would basically pick up on that and work for that. So it's unique, I think, and how this planet. That's why I tend to think it's much different than any of the other plants on the planet, and that how it's tied into us in a way, like it's almost like it's a necessity. Going back to this genetic engineering of the Anunnaki, right, and what they were doing, and if they've tweaked us down, right, to suppress certain things, intelligence and senses and things of that nature. I remember the Star Trek episodes where they were fighting the Dominion, right? And the Dominion had these soldiers that they had genetically engineered, right? And they even popped them out of birthing chambers, right? But they had them all addicted to what they called white, and they needed the white to survive. Yeah, I was just thinking, I wondered if we were tweaked to need cannabis to literally, survive and have long lives.
Well, it's interesting because there's a pretty good research on this, actually, that you can look at the planet, right, these different things on the planet, and you can tell what does what based on the shape of it, because it'll reflect the shape that's in your body, right? Like beets, for example, right? And beets kind of look like a heart, right?
Yes.
So beets are great for your cardiovascular system, right? They help the blood flow. Carrots, if you cut a carrot, it looks like an eye, right? And it's good for your eyes. You look at now cannabis has 5 leaves, right?
Yes.
Like, it looks like a human figure, and on each one of those leaves you have like little what looks kind of like veins and arteries, right? Mm-hmm. So it would make sense that it just kind of restores the whole body.
Yes. Yeah. No. It's there's some symbolistic connection. That the things of shape of things I had studied what was called torsion field physics, and they literally where the shape of things affect energy flow. And so things that are obviously, mimicking one another, there's a symbiotic relationship in relationship to the energy. So.
Yep. Yep. I believe it. I believe it. It's like dragonflies have these hollow tubes in their wings, right? So they flap their wings like 20 times like a second compared to like a bee or maybe less than that actually, compared to like a bee that does like 200 times, because they're just creating a vibration and they're flying based on the vibration. Beetles are like that too.
Yeah.
There's actual.
Well, they actually, there are actually structures within the wings of the beetle, for example. They have a hard shell wing, right, and then they have these very light wings that are underneath, kind of more like the dragonfly, very thin. And but in the hard shell, it actually has structures that create a anti-gravity effect. It's
Right.
They literally are constructed in a way that creates kind of a lighter, makes them lighter, so that their smaller, thinner wings can actually propel them.
Right.
Kind of like that same thing I was discussing with you yesterday about the anti-gravity, where it was okay. For example, the Germans figured out, easy to get things to float. Couldn't propel them, couldn't move them from place to place. You need to have something else that
You
pushes
need some hollow wings, man.
It's some hollow wings, or thrust created in other ways. So the insects are doing that, especially the scarab beetle. Analyze the bees. Apparently have it in their legs. In which and in their way their skin is constructed and everything allow them to be lighter than they should be, right? But how they activate that and whatever that is, it's kind of a mystery. How do they engage that? Are they?
Yeah, it's amazing.
So the world is amazing.
I know the world really is amazing. It really is amazing. If you could just find a way to get away from from working so much to enjoy it and just kind of be in the moment, smell the roses, so to speak, right?
Right. Yeah, we should be able to stop when we want and start when we want, not be forced into the machinery of a system that is just extracting from us for its own sake, for the sake of the system. This is again, why I think we're looking at communism as being the main target of Trump around the world, the deep state religion. What this is their ultimate superseding, overreaching government of the world was to be communistic. And that's why were moving everything to China. But now that's all being dismantled. In front of our eyes. I mean, literally, China will lose its ability to manufacture these items, unless they drop what they've been doing. And literally, it's about getting rid of the Communist Party. There's nothing wrong with with the people of China, right?
Right.
It's this mobster, this mafia. Right, same thing. Khazarian mafia. It's just another form of the Khazarian mafia.
Well, and it's really the same here.
Same, yeah.
It's the same mob.
Same mob.
It's becoming very transparent in a sense, right?
Yeah.
Maybe connections are not being established, but clearly there is. Communism is public slavery, right? That's what it is. So it's like. That's why you have all these elements, of socialism and communism that are here, right? Like projects, right? Now, if you've ever been in the projects, right, like where you have project housing, whenever someone calls you with a project, like two different things in a way. There's the projects, which is where they have manufactured housing that's the exact same, and you put like, you know, however, like 100,000 people in it, on one street or something, right? And you just build everything exactly the same. Now, then you provide very inexpensive housing, but what they do is they basically rounding up people and putting them in one place so you know where they're at, you know. And it's just a different. I mean, it's just a bigger prison, you know. The whole planet is kind of set up that way.
Yes.
We're all just kind of imprisoned in different places. And I remember thinking about this when I was a kid, right? Like, you know, if you were like homeless in a town that was freezing cold, right? You know, in the wintertime, like what a miserable way to exist, right? Because how do you get out? You don't have any money, right?
Right.
Like, winter's coming. What are you gonna do? Just start walking? It's a long trek, you know.
Right.
So it's whenever it starts to get cold here, you know, and you know it's amazing. All the way out here in my little town, where you would think there'd never be anyone homeless where I live because there's no way to get around. I mean, if you were homeless here, it's like you had to literally leave your home and somebody just left you there, right? There's no place to go. There's no shelters here. There's nothing like that, right? So it's like, but now there's you know, different groups of homeless people kind of popping up in different places. And I'm kind of like, where do you guys come from? You know, so. But in New York, in the city, there's such a large homeless population, and it'll be such a tragedy to me because there'll be these massive buildings that are completely empty, you know, or have, you know, a few select places that are in there. And if anybody's going to be charitable, it should be them. Like, here, we'll make a way, you know. But people who pay, $20,000 a month to rent, 2,000 square feet, they don't want a bunch of homeless people in the building. So that's kind of what happens. That's what happens. Hello? You there, Dan? Dan Lutz.
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, did I cut out?
No, I cut out.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Thank you for telling me.
Yeah,
no problem.
Well, I didn't want to interrupt to say give me a minute. So, but I
no
heard
problem.
everything. I heard everything you said. So, well, I think we're experiencing a lot of different energies moving forward to this point where we're like I said, I'm noticing like these stories from the Anunnaki side, right, and how I actually want to pass this video over to you so you can kind of get a handle on this, because it's good to kind of have that history perspective. I think it ties it all together pretty well as to where we are, but it really talks about the more in-depth issues that we're experiencing about the ascension, right? The spiritual uplifting, the changing of this world based around negativity into a world based around love and being positive. So we are going to see the negative show up, but we're rising above it, right? We're pulling together, we're standing up together. We're not bowing to fear, bowing to the negative, getting on our knees and asking for help from the slave masters, right? We're done with that. We need to move in a direction that's going to keep us, in a path towards the ascension. I'm not saying we're going to, ascend into balls of light in the next, 5 years or something, but to leave behind all of the stuff that we've been dealing with, leave behind the monopoly game.
Well, I think this is something that is talked about. This ascension is an ascension in the body, right? So whereas usually ascension is something where you're leaving this body behind by ascending, but this ascension is in the body, right? And so we're ascending now, right? Like we talked about it this week. We expected them to come with a tax, and in a day where, in meditation we're talking about, abundance through health. We have this gentleman call us with what would potentially be, to be quite honest, the greatest products in history, right? And for human health and abundance, because you could fight off all the things they're doing very easily. They're infecting our kids with cancer, right? They're putting it in the vaccines. They're causing all types of carcinogens to go out there. Well, you know what? If your body is immunized to cancer, well, guess what? You're going to take down this monstrous, horrible industry. Actually started working with and talking to and making arrangements with a radiation tech and the doctor there, who's an oncologist, right? Now, I really want to put his integrity to the test, right? To find out, well, hey, if you just cured these people this way, would you? And I haven't told him anything in detail yet, but I've started a conversation, told him that there's some things available I'd like to talk about, right? And I'm looking to see, like, if it's really about the people, or really about your duty, right, to do no harm, to actually help people, will you do it? Or are you going to be like, but I make so much money doing radiation therapy? Because every time a doctor prescribes either chemotherapy or radiation therapy, which they might be one in the same, but they're different versions, I guess. And but essentially, the doctor makes like a percentage off every single time he does that. So it's like it might be $5,000 for every treatment. Right. And one of our members was saying that the insurance paid out $40,000 a day for like 6 months straight, every day, for these treatments. So that's big money. That's big money. That's part of the reason why the pharmaceutical companies are such giants.
Yeah, well, it's like I'm making so much money killing people with my treatments that I don't want to stop killing people.
The AMA calls it the long, slow death process. This way, they can manage people from the cradle to the grave, right?
Right.
So all of us can, they can make sure they know what diseases we're going to get, and how would you possibly know that? Because you put them there. It's kind of like if I plant drugs in your car, right? Then I pull you over and ask, is there any drugs in your car? It's like, well, I already know the answer, don't I? So that's why they want us to do all these tests for cancer. And they're showing that actually doing prostate exams and breast cancer checks and all these different things, they don't actually help anyone's health. It's actually worse. It makes it worse.
Yeah. Well, again, we need to. We're on the path out of this, right? We just need these. Need to stay focused on where we're going, and we're there already. Amazing that we've made it this far. I'm the grand trumpet, the blowing out there. Trump out there with his literally taking on the world all at one time. Realignment of the world. There's a new serial brain too, and it's a little. This one is a little bit. I think reaching on a lot of areas, but that's okay. But they gave some perspective to all of the ones who have come on board, even if they came on board with Trump's plan by force. They have no choice. They have to leave behind the other side, And but they were talking about the protests that have started in France, the UK, the Hong Kong, uh, just across the board. The things that are happening around the world that show this realignment is happening before our eyes. And he's only been there for 3 years, less than 3 years, but you know, and I think when the swamp is drained, and even it takes till the next election cycle to complete, and he has a whole 4 years after that, he would have accomplished so much. I think he really needs a do-over on the first term. And I'd like to point out that if we are under the republic, right, the rules that took place to limit the term to 2 terms for the president happened under the incorporated entity.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because George Washington was president for life, right?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, it could have been, yeah, but he bowed out after 2 to set a precedent. But there were others that went beyond that. Well, specifically, it was Roosevelt that stayed for I forget what it was like. He was there for
4 terms.
4 terms, yeah. So,
well, I mean, he was elected 4 terms, but he died this last week.
Yeah. So, as I said, it would be good. I think having him steer us for the next 20 years, really. If he can be around for that long, that would be great. Seems to be in good shape.
I think what impresses me most about President Trump right now is that he's really settled in to what he's doing, to where you can tell he's enjoying what he's doing. Mm-hmm. It's like he's doing all these great things. He's making the progress he promised he'd make. Despite impossible odds, man. I'll tell you what, I look at him and I'm just like, man, I just anytime I see him doing it, I'm just like, yeah, I think this way about Kim too. It's like I can't make excuses when I see all that they've done.
Right. And continue.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I see happen. Now, something else is going on. You got Ilhan Omar, which obviously is leading a terrorist regime.
Right.
Here. So she's being outed because all this stuff's coming up by her, right?
Right.
And I wonder what other people think, or if people are just so indifferent, right? Because I really think the biggest problem we have is indifference. We just, people feel powerless, and therefore they protect themselves by not caring, right? So I think it's a combination of being powerless and indifferent. And with that, we'll never have power, and things will never be different.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the plan. That's what they've been, pushing on us, right? So, remove our will, remove hope, remove everything that is going to be giving us power, right? So they set that expectation of hopelessness.
Right.
We can, but there is so much hope. It's amazing where we're at. And this is this has caused so much upheaval in the world that it just takes time for people to realign themselves to what's going on. This great awakening, process. It does, it's painfully slow for us that are already awake. Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what? We're actually. I realize now that we're reversing what they did, right? And we're doing it exactly the opposite way they did it, right? Because that's how you would unwind something, anyways.
Reversing the flow.
Right. So if you look at it now, what we're doing is being completely transparent, right? Consistent, and acting in the best interest of the people, regardless or without financial gain or without personal gain, other than, that personal gain that you get with the collective, right? And, not making selfish, constant selfish decisions to deceive people. And so what they did was they constantly made decisions. Like they would they'd trick us into signing contracts by not telling us what was in the contract, right? So now we're like, well, this is what it says. And now we're going back into all these things and taking them apart and saying, this is what it actually says, and this is what you are bound to. You are in violation of the contract, not me, right? And so while they continue to let these court systems arrest people, and this guy Timothy Holsmith, they were just trying to trick him, to get him in jail, and most people wouldn't even have caught it. But it's all coming to the light now, right? So, and that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it is just by our observation of something, you can change it. Not that I'm saying just observe, but I mean just by realizing it's there. But I'm amazed right now. I just it blows my mind. My daughter just started first grade, so there's all types of first like all these parent meetings that I went to the PTA meeting. I've been going to trying to get involved in anything to do with the vaccines, and anytime there's a meeting for that. So I'm going to, but every time I go to this school, I mean, they must, they're going to see me coming and just be like, shut the door, put the close sign up every time I come in, because I walk in, I go up to the principal, I go up to the nurses, I start talking to everyone. I'm like, what are they talking about with vaccines? They have no idea. Now, so imagine in this school where they're about to mandate that every child has this vaccine that we know has at least 2 active ingredients that cause sterility, right? It will sterilize. It's very highly. It's actually used in drugs specifically for sterilization, right? And this is in the actual drugs they're forcing our children to take as of 9 years old to prevent cervical cancer, which it doesn't do, and to prevent HPV, which only has 4 strands of HPV even in it out of hundreds. And I'm just like, but nobody cares about that, right? They're talking about what's the best way to turn when you come out of the school, and those are the pressing issues that people worry about. Meanwhile, their constitutional rights are taken from them; they don't even know.
Right. I mean, the stupid issues. I mean, if they're, I think it's not on anybody's radar that would ever even think about anything, whether any of the things that they try and bring up, and the ones that they try to divide everyone about, especially like say the pro-choice, right? That whole thing is they're meant to divide the country into keep them in power doing the things that they want to do for their worship.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody was talking about this last night about how the secret space program was like somehow had some kind of deal to pull these babies in, right? It was like for their food or something like that, right? And I was like, what? Like and now think about it, we live in the world of absolute absurdity, right?
Really?
Like I have a permanent residence, right? I have a condominium in the rabbit hole, but it gets to a point where it just amazes me that these things never stop being like mind blowing. Like, what do you mean? Like how does anyone have a contract like that, right? Well, lo and behold, they probably had the contract with the Clintons, right?
It makes sense.
Yeah. So you know what? But on the other fronts, the Federal Reserve just lowered rates. So you know what that means? Nothing, because they have no control of the rates or anything else for that matter. They have banking meetings. They have no function. So I just keep wondering, what do they think they're doing at the Federal Reserve right now? Because they can't control anything. They haven't cleared a single transfer since September. They have no power to do it. Their charter's been revoked. Like, what are those meetings like? Like when you go to work there, like what's happening?
And I think they
I might go there
play
tomorrow and find out.
I think they play table football.
Yeah,
with a little paper
it's
football.
probably like nonstop like foosball competitions and like They're talking about how awesome it was to be in the Skull and Bones. They just sit around and tell stories about it. You remember that one time, man? I was so drunk. Like, that's what it's like to be the Federal Reserve right now.
Yeah, well, I think that they're playing a role in this in the optics party here, right? So that they're lowering the rate. Trump told them to lower the rate, and now they're starting more counterfeit money, QE4, I guess, right now. So they're now flooding money out onto the market. So, interesting how it's going to be used, to drop the rates. When we're down to 0%, what are they there for? Why do we have to use them?
Yeah, I mean, and if you have negative rates, then they're actually paying you to take money from them. Well, I guess you got to pay it back. So.
No, well, you pay back less, right? Because if you go negative rates, it would be paying back less than you took. So, it's actually here's one thing that people don't realize about if there's negative interest rates. If you have money in the bank and there's negative interest rates, you will have to pay to get your money out that negative interest rate.
Right. They're actually taking the interest.
If you have money in, if the system's gone to the point where it's negative interest rates, if you have money in that bank and you want to remove it, you have to pay the negative interest rate to take out the money.
Yep.
Even though it's your money, quote unquote. In reality, the reason they can do it is it's not really your money, right? It's just a debt instrument now with a negative attachment to it, which means you have to send in a positive amount to take out that debt, right? So you're on the opposite side of the you're on the creditor side now, I think. Anyway, it gets all turned backwards, so that's why you have to pay. Now, we're not there from the Federal Reserve side, right? But we are there in Germany. There's massive capital flowing right now into Germany. Why? Well, is it because there's a negative interest rate and people are now want to say, hey, I want a piece of that? Or they're there to try and save the banks. Deutsche Bank was already absorbed by another bank. I forgot the name. All right, but maybe that.
PNB.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and then but it wasn't too much of a toxic pill. All of these derivatives. That they wouldn't be able to, even, hold it, hold the line on it.
You know what I notice about banking? It's incredibly boring. It's like you really don't do anything. Your entire focus is to accumulate, right? And to find ways to move and manipulate something, a tool, basically to get things done. It's like, I used to say this about New York City, right? I grew up in the country in upstate New York, right? And in upstate New York is beautiful, right? All year round, we always did stuff. Always. We were skiing in the wintertime and sled riding and building giant forts. We used to jump off the roof into giant snow mounds and do crazy stuff. In the summertime, we'd be out on rope swings and ponds and, lakes and water skiing and all types of we were always moving. We were always doing stuff, playing sports. But in New York City, it's such a spectacular city, right? So many amazing things here, right? But mainly what you do is you pay a lot of money to go watch people do stuff, but you don't do anything, right? Like you pay a lot of money to go to a Broadway show and sit there and watch. Pay a lot of money to go to a football game, sit there and watch, or go to a basketball game and sit there and watch, or some other type of show that comes in. The main thing to do here is there's lots of shows. Like, and people will go out of their way to go to the show and they'll sit and they'll watch somebody else do something. And I just feel like that's a lot of what, that's a culture created by like banking. Like they think they're so prominent, they don't have to do anything, right? So they just accumulate wealth and watch. And that's why I hate when they tell us, trust the plan, enjoy the show. It just doesn't. It's like, no, I want to be in the show, right? I want to be actively part of what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good that you want to do that. I want to do that, and there's a lot of us that will do that. The others are going to watch us while eating popcorn.
Well, anyways, I'm glad to be part of the show, Dan, and I think that's pretty much all I got for today. I do expect to have a very exciting next 7 days, and I think that we're going to see some big changes and a lot of things. The end of the month is very important, and there's some things happening that on many levels that I don't even want to tease people with, but I just say there's lots of things happening that are going to help all of us.
Okay. Yep. All right. Well, well then in closing, I'd like to thank those people that have helped with their donations. I was able to catch those bills in time, which is really today. They got to be paid today. And I still got one more bill to take care of, so I'm still in need. So any contributions are appreciated. Small contributions add up. So that's mostly what I'm getting, but I got a couple of the bigger ones. So that's also helpful. So thank you all for everything that you're doing. Please subscribe to this channel, pass it on. Ask others to do the same, and let's keep moving forward. We're right here on the front lines.
All right. Have a great night, Dan. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.